We just witnessed a promo battle for the ages between John Cena and Cody Rhodes, plus the Women's Triple Threat made yet another case, another example as to why that match should be main eventing WrestleMania. A lot happened on Monday Night Raw. I'm Ben Allison, this is Allison Analysis, and here are my 5 key findings. In at number 5, that segment was exactly what the Gunther and Jey Uso feud needed. I mean, I pretty much have been complaining about this feud every single week so far. It has been boring, it has been uneventful, it's basically just been the same thing every single week, hasn't it? And quite frankly, the two have been feuding with other people more than they've been feuding with themselves. And yes, I get it, the idea is to thread the feuds together so it all goes into one. I understand it, right? Gunther's trying to prove himself, Jey Uso's then trying to one-up him and prove himself. I get it, but it's boring, it is bland, and it's just not compelling. It felt like a mid-card title storyline that felt like an afterthought. But this segment, it was fantastic. Gunther absolutely destroyed Jimmy Uso, right? And I remember during the Bloodline storyline quite a few years ago, 2020, we were talking about how great Jey Uso's facial emotions were. Well, while Gunther was just absolutely beating the living hell out of Jimmy Uso, and Jimmy Uso, by the way, his selling was off the charts, Jey Uso's facial emotions were really impressive as well. It looked so real, and therefore you were hooked right into it. Now, the one slight issue with this segment was where are the referees, right? Because every time there's a brawl in WWE right now, we see referees rush in about 5 seconds, but here it took them 5 minutes. So that is maybe a little bit of a, something we'll have to just put to one side and ignore, but I don't care because this segment was that good that I'll just ignore that completely. But from here, specifically next week, Jey Uso needs to come out and he needs to cut the promo of his year about how Gunther's potentially taken the opportunity for Jimmy to wrestle at WrestleMania against somebody else. He's taken that off the table by injuring him. And honestly now, I really would keep Jimmy Uso off TV until WrestleMania. And then during Gunther versus Jey, you could have Ludwig Kaiser come out at some point and try and help Gunther. And then Jimmy returns and takes out Ludwig Kaiser. And that would be, nice moment for the crowd as well. And a nice moment for Jimmy. But I'm just thrilled. Finally, something in this feud that I'm invested in. They hooked me into it. Finally, it took them like 2 months or whatever it was, but I'm now invested. In at number 4, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul should be a banger, but I just don't care about the story. I will admit out of the gate, part of this could well be because I am such a big AJ Styles fan, and I know there is a potential that this could be AJ Styles' last WrestleMania. But also, this story is just so mid. It feels so thrown together. And I was thinking about it, and I believe the reason for that is WWE wanted us to think that it was going to be Logan Paul versus John Cena at WrestleMania. And that's why Logan kept teasing it. I even thought that match was going to happen at one point. And because of that, this feud kind of was the victim to it. Because instead of, starting to really build this up, they were instead building Styles in the Intercontinental Championship picture. By the way, a blow-off which we still haven't seen. But also, Logan Paul just wasn't involved with AJ really at all. And then last minute, they've kind of just thrown it all together. It's all very random and quite frankly, not very compelling or interesting, minus the fact that we do know it'll be a really fun match from an in-ring perspective. But WrestleMania is meant to be the king of stories. It is meant to be the culmination, the ending to stories told over a year. And this hasn't been told over a month. All of this being said, right, Logan Paul's new finisher looks absolutely sick, and the way AJ Styles took it as well, it was phenomenal. Pun intended, ha ha ha. But I am excited for the match, but the feud it doesn't have me interested. In at number 3, if Liv and Raquel face Bayley and Roxanne at WrestleMania, then it is just so rushed. Based on what happened last week and based on what happened this week, it does look like the Women's Championships will be on the line. The Women's Tag Team Championships will be on the line at WrestleMania, with Bayley and Roxanne being the challengers. I mean, I'm guessing next week when Bayley challenges Roxanne, Liv and Raquel are going to interfere and lead to a DQ or something like that, leading to this tag match. And listen, right, I understand you want all four of these ladies on the card. I'd want all four of them on the card. But the issue is you haven't told this story. I just complained about AJ Styles and Logan Paul, but I mean, at least that had a couple more weeks than this. I mean, here's a hot take, but I really do think since last year's WrestleMania, Bayley has been so misused. In fact, potentially the most misused she's been in her entire career. And that's saying something considering she was champion for the first few months after WrestleMania. But the fact is her character has lacked any sort of direction and her stories have all felt like an afterthought minus, I guess, the Nia one. But Bayley deserves better. She's in the prime of her career, and it kind of feels like they're kind of wasting it a little bit, right? And I don't say this about many people, right, in wrestling, and I really, really don't. But Bayley is someone who I do genuinely think might benefit from leaving WWE and going over to AEW and having a run there, because she would be a huge deal there, right? And maybe new viewers will think I'm some AEW mark by saying this, right? I'm not. I love both companies. But Bayley, I do think, is somebody who maybe at this moment in time could benefit from a change of scenery. Also, I will say this, Chelsea Green better have a United States Championship defense on the card. I have no idea who it would be against, maybe Zelina Vega, but you cannot have Braun Breaker, because he's going to be having an Intercontinental title defense, no doubt about that. You cannot be having him have one, and then having none of the women's titles, none of the women's mid-card titles, I should say, being on the line at WrestleMania. It's got to be none of the men's and none of the women's, or one-on-one or something like that, right? Because otherwise these women's mid-card ones feel like an afterthought. But before we get into my top 2 key findings, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe on this video, that would be massively appreciated. Here at Wrestling Republic, I say it every time, but we create between 5 to 10 free videos every single week, and in addition to that, we have a live stream every single day, and I mean every single day, at 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you. In at number 2, almost any other year, Io Sky versus Ripley versus Belair would be a Night 2 main event of WrestleMania. I have absolutely loved this storyline, and once again on Raw, they delivered. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley put on an absolute banger, and then of course we had all the refereeing stuff with Bianca Belair. It was predictable, but it was done extremely well. And at the end of it, of course, it was a double DQ, meaning Io Sky retained, and Io Sky versus Bianca Belair was made official for WrestleMania, but it was made official while Rhea Ripley was holding the World Championship above her head, making it clear, sending a clear sign that this isn't done yet. And this is how you build a triple threat match which makes sense. And truthfully, this storyline is delivered every single week, and I do believe this is the only WrestleMania storyline this year which has delivered every single week since the story started. So I do think there is easily a case which could be made, and a compelling case at that this should be the Night 1 main event. Now I get it, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, you have the Roman Reigns main event streak to keep alive, you have the main event story they've been telling with Punk as well. I get it, right? But the fact is, any other year, almost any other year, this storyline would be good enough to main event Night 2, and it just absolutely sucks it's not even going to main event Night 1. But that's the thing, everybody's saying how bad the build is for this year's Mania, and yes, there's been quite a few hiccups, right? But the fact is the card is absolutely stacked, and this is a perfect example of that. I mean, you pretty much have 3 matches on the card which could potentially main event almost any other WrestleMania. And in at number 1, John Cena and Cody Rhodes just had a promo battle for the ages. This was what the feud needed. It was a good old-fashioned John Cena burial promo, but the difference was this time he was a heel and he could cut a lot deeper, he could say whatever he wanted, and he really did hurt Cody. And I thought for a second Cody was about to lose a lot of stock, but then he picked up the mic, and guess what? He responded, and he responded well. It was brilliant. How many people can you say in the history of Cena's promos have successfully responded to him, hit back at him when he's done these sorts of promos? Not many at all. And quite frankly, Cena's promo on Cody, it was absolutely brutal. I really don't think there's ever been a Cena promo this brutal, which the person just responded to so well. But Cena did bring up the fact that what a lot of fans have been saying, including Clark on Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast over the last couple of years, that Cody's wearing so many suits and trying to look, so important that it kind of makes him feel like he's trying too hard. So I am wondering that if Cody does lose at WrestleMania, is Cody going to start to change his gimmick a little bit? Are we going to see more of the relaxed side of Cody Rhodes? Is he going to take the suits off and going to be more of himself almost? I don't know, but that is going to be something to keep an eye on in the next few months. Regardless, this segment was fantastic. It was what the story needed, and I just massively enjoyed it. But overall, I thought this show was a tremendous ending to WWE's European tour, right? And on my rating system, I guess it will get a subtle round of applause. I enjoyed it from start until finish. It was one of the best shows of the tour, and it advanced multiple storylines and advanced them in great ways. That Gunther and Jimmy segment was just absolutely outstanding. The Cena and Cody promo was great as well, and the main event was extremely fun. The only thing which kind of stops it from getting a higher rating is maybe some of the in-ring action, but this time of the year they are focusing on building up the storylines for WrestleMania, so I don't really have an issue with it at all. But what did you guys think of the show? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I will be replying to your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.